Everyone, today we're going to take a look at the new Honda Civic. The Civic gets a full redesign for 2022, bringing it into its 11th generation. There are now just two different body styles available, a four-door sedan, which is what you see here, and a four-door hatchback. The coupe has been discontinued for this generation, which really isn't that big of a loss, given that coupes just don't sell very well these days anyway. The one we're looking at here is a fully loaded touring model. Comes in at around $30,000, powered by a 1.5-liter turbocharged four-cylinder, mated to a CVT. Pretty mainstream, but still there are a few interesting bits when it comes to this vehicle. So let's do a tour of the new Civic here and then take it for a drive. So styling is of course subjective, but I think this is a pretty mature and sophisticated looking vehicle. I look forward to Honda's new design language here making its way throughout the rest of the company's lineup. Given that this is a touring model, you will notice 18-inch wheels here wrapped in Goodyear Eagle Sport tires. Moving down the side, this is like a silvery blue color. Not quite my favorite, but it's okay. The nose here is certainly unique. The headlights are actually a really simple design. I mean, especially by modern standards, we're used to seeing some really bizarre headlight designs, but this is about as simple as they come these days. And then this styling choice here, it kind of gives it a nose which you wouldn't think would work, but when you step back, yeah, it looks pretty good. Moving on though, up top there is a sunroof, nothing too complicated, not panoramic or anything, just a basic sunroof. Around back, more of the same. It looks pretty conservative, relatively sophisticated. You've got Civic across the tailgate here in Honda's new font, your Honda emblem, and then a touring badge because this is a fully loaded touring model. As for cargo volume, power release on the trunk, pretty smooth opening there. As for cargo volume though, about what you'd expect for a compact sedan. Really not much at all going on here in the trunk area. No tie down points, no nets, no special compartments, no outlets. Not really anything, although you can put down, or at least release the 60/40 split folding rear seat backs. I guess you'd have to push them to get them to actually go down, but you can release them at least via these levers here. And well, that's about it. Let's see. So you do have a spare. It's a space saver spare, and then your spare tire toolkit fits in there. Something interesting that I've noticed about Honda products. So they use a capless fuel filler design, but if you're filling manually, say like with a jerry can, like that one, if you're filling with something like that, you have to use this to make a spout. So that's what this thing is. That's probably the first time it's been inserted. But yeah, a little Honda branded funnel there that I'm sure is part of Honda's parts catalog. Take a look at the key, which is in my pocket. So it's really small. It's a new design. I like it a lot. I do a lot of stuff outside, like hiking or mountain biking, and it's nice to have a small key because you can just stuff it away in your bag. It's not heavy, it's not bulky, it's not getting in the way, and this is certainly one of the smallest that I've come across. So you've got lock, unlock, push and hold for remote start, push and hold to open the trunk, and then panic there on the bottom. Let's go ahead and turn this on because it is really hot outside. Okay, before we get to the interior, let's take a look at this window sticker. So you can see this is a 2022 Honda Civic 1.5T four-door touring. It just tells you that it's a fully loaded Civic sedan. As equipped, it comes in at just a hair under $30,000 there, $29,690 when you factor in a $995 destination fee. Fuel economy is rated by the EPA at 31 city, 38 highway, and 34 combined. The trim level 1 down from the touring actually returns slightly better figures. I'm not sure if that's because it's lighter or what's going on there, but yeah, the top of the line touring model isn't actually the most efficient Civic, which may or may not come as a surprise. Like I said, power comes from a 1.5-liter turbocharged four-cylinder engine. It puts out 180 horsepower, and it is mated to a continuously variable automatic transmission. As for the interior in this new Civic, I think it's really fun. My favorite bit are the air vents, which are incorporated into this hexagonal mesh design trim element thing across the front of the dashboard here, and included over here. So the air vents are controlled via these kind of joysticks. So they go left, right, up, down, and they really have a pretty broad range of motion there. The stock things, or the joysticks here, feel really good. They sound nice. And overall, they make a great first impression when you sit down in this vehicle. HVAC controls are also pretty intuitive. They feel pretty good. We're going to make sure that is left on low. Same goes for the fan speed here. USB-A, unfortunately, for whatever reason, the Japanese automakers are reluctant to adopt USB-C. This is pretty much obsolete, though. Either way, you get two USB-A ports and then a 12-volt outlet up front, and then there is a wireless charging pad right there. As for the gauge cluster, again, fully loaded, so you get a digital gauge cluster. It's relatively high resolution, as is the infotainment screen here. What I really like is that they've included all the important stuff as physical buttons. So years back, Honda had gotten rid of the volume knob and adopted a slider, and people hated it so much that Honda had to retroactively add back in the volume knob, and you can see that it's stuck around ever since. You've also got forward and back controls, which is really great, and then a home and a menu back button there as well. And of course, this is a touchscreen. So Honda's infotainment it's okay, but usability is made really great by the inclusion of these physical buttons here. I'm gonna give that a thumbs up. Steering wheel looks kind of cool. It's kind of blocky and chunky. You've got paddle shifters on the back here for the continuously variable automatic transmission. So not as satisfying to use the paddle shifters as it would be if this were a traditional geared automatic, but still it's nice to have that that usability there. Over here on the door panel, everything feels really good. It's a bummer that the back two windows aren't one touch up and down like the fronts, especially in a fully loaded trim level. So that's a bummer. That's a thumbs down, but either way, we can forgive that. Everything feels pretty good, as you'd expect from Honda. And yeah, overall, this new interior design language is fun. I like it. One more thing here on the center console, there's just a traditional forward and backward transmission lever, but behind it here, you can cycle through a couple different drive modes. So you've got normal, that's your default, and then there is an economy mode, and then a sport mode. You can see the tachometer gets slightly red there when you go into sport mode. Then you've just got an electronic parking brake, a brake hold feature, and then an on-off button for the start-stop system, which, yeah, we don't really like those. Might as well take a peek in the center console here. It's pretty simple, relatively deep. There's a rubber liner on the bottom there, and then you get this thing, which you can choose to keep here or here. That's up to you. I think that about covers the front seating area here. Let's check out the rear. Okay, in the back seat of the new Civic, and there's actually a lot of space back here. I'm also reviewing a new Mercedes C-Class right now, and I can confidently say that there's more space here in the back seat of the Civic than there is in the new C-Class, for whatever that data point is worth. But other things back here, USB-A, again, bummer. Time for USB-C. Over here on the door panel, unfortunately it's hard plastic. Automakers will do this sometimes. The front door panel is a nice soft touch material, and the back door panel looks the same as the front door, but then when you touch it, it's just this gross hard plastic. That's a cost-cutting measure. Again, the windows are not one touch up and down, so that's another demerit for the back seat here. But beyond that, things are fine. We've got cup holders on the center armrest here, and that, see, that thuds down right onto the seat bottom there. Maybe not necessarily a bad thing, but we might like to see this armrest up a little bit higher for ergonomics. But overhead, there's a light, grab handles, map pocket on the passenger seat back, nothing on the driver's seat back, and yeah, that's really it. There's a decent amount of space back here. It's a pretty big hump, so you can't really sprawl out like in some vehicles, but the footwell is spacious. I don't feel too claustrophobic, and yeah, I would be comfortable back here even on a long drive. Okay, driving the new 2022 Honda Civic. So the Civic is the best-selling compact sedan. This is kind of a pillar in the automotive world. This is now on sale in its 11th generation. So needless to say, this is a stalwart in the automotive industry, a relatively important vehicle, although its importance is arguably waning as sport utility vehicles take over. But still, this is a vehicle that Honda really needs to get right, and I think they have. So there's 50 miles per hour. Not sure what the 0 to 60 is. You can kind of hear the continuously variable automatic transmission groaning there. But 180 horsepower, 177 pounds-feet of torque. I didn't mention that before. But power's decent, considering that we're not getting into the performance space quite yet. 180 horsepower is respectable for sure in this segment. Like I said, this is not a performance car, but generally the Civic has always been little bit sporty. Like, there's a little bit of sportiness in this vehicle's DNA, and I can say that continues on into the 11th generation here. Handling feels good. Car looks sharp. Maybe I don't love this exterior color, but the new styling is sharp. The interior looks really cool, really modern. It seems like a very deliberate design. Interpret that however you want, but it seems like they set out to make a good-looking car interior that's maybe a little bit different than anything else on the market right now, and they've certainly been successful with that. Going over our first speed bump here at 28 miles per hour. Felt okay. Second speed bump here. These first two are pretty small. That was at 30 miles per hour. Once again, felt okay. Here's our third speed bump at 30. That's a big one, but the car still felt fine. Yeah, if you enjoy driving and you're looking for a mainstream vehicle, I think you'd find a lot to like about the Civic here. The backup camera is very bad. Like, really bad. I don't know what it is about the Japanese automakers between refusing to adopt USB-C, which is the standard and will be the standard going forward, and refusing to use backup cameras that are from the 21st century. I really don't understand their reluctance there. Backup cameras aside, though, that is our look at the new Honda Civic here. A couple things I should also mention. I've seen really good fuel economy. The EPA rates this at 31 city, 38 highway, and 34 combined. I'm seeing 37 combined. A lot of my driving has been up and down canyons, not a lot of stop and go city driving. But either way, 37 MPG combined is pretty impressive. And there's also a semi-autonomous driving feature that this thing has. A lot of cars have been adding that over the years, but it's cool to see it making its way down into well, these really mainstream models that'll use the radar cruise control and the lane centering feature to pilot the vehicle down the highway with minimal driver intervention. You still have to keep your hands on the wheel, still have to keep your eyes on the road, but it does help you to maybe conserve some energy, especially on longer drives. So that's really cool. Overall, Honda is never looking to reinvent the wheel when it comes to the Civic. They're never looking to really take a real revolutionary approach when going from one generation of Civic to another. It's always evolutionary, but considering some of the changes that Honda has made to the Civic here, I really like this new generation, and I think it's well positioned going forward into the future. So that's my take on the new Civic. I look forward to hopefully getting my hands on an SI model and on the new Type R whenever that becomes available. But for now, the mainstream touring model here, I like it a lot. Thanks for watching.